If you've been injured in an accident or other incident and you've got a personal injury claim, like most, you are wondering, how do personal injury lawyers value, for settlement purposes, these cases? Let me give you a rundown of how we do it as personal injury trial lawyers. And so what I'm going to give you is first a discussion on the three components of damages that make up the value. I'm also going to give you a big tip here early on that will help you value your injury claim. I'm also at the end going to give you what I believe, and most personal injury lawyers that try cases believe, is the biggest driver of value of a personal injury claim. You need to know it. And then I'm also going to give you some one-offs to see if you've got it or not, that if you do, significantly increase the value of your personal injury claim. All right, number one, biggest tip I can give you right out the chute here is going to be personal injury calculators, pain and suffering calculators. You're going to see a bunch of them out there. It's bogus. It's a marketing ploy. There is no calculator that you can plug in information and it gives you a value. That's what the insurance company is doing, by the way. They're using computer systems. This isn't a computer system kind of a thing. At the end of the day, it is what is a jury of your peers. I'm in the state of Georgia, so it's typically 12. Where are 12 people in your community hearing everything? Are they going to value your claim? Are they going to give you all your medical? Are they going to give you all your lost wages? What are they going to give you for the biggest component, which is pain and suffering, that no one can calculate? All of that, it's human factors, those sorts of things. It's what they believe it is worth. A calculator is not going to tell you that. And if you use a calculator, all you're doing is falling into the trap of an insurance company to lower the value. That's why they use computers. They don't want humans to make pain and suffering and, oh God, I feel so bad for this person type decisions with money. But that's what a jury does. That's the whole point of trying a case to a jury, is if they hate what you have been through and they really empathize with you, they are going to value your claim much higher. So that's really, really important. Don't fall for these calculators. Don't even look at them. All right, now let's get into the three components, because I want to make sure you understand them fully to be able to value your claim. Missing any little portion of this valuation is really going to hurt you in trying to get to a good settlement valuation. First component, medical expenses. Now, it is past, present, and future medical expenses. So that's the key. Don't forget present and future. So easiest is, here's what my medical bills have been so far. And yes, in most states, it is the full amount of your medical bills. I'm here in Georgia, so I try cases throughout the state of Georgia, and Georgia law requires us to use the full amount of the medical bills before health insurance pays anything. Any other third parties pay the bill. Jury's not allowed to hear that. So therefore, your calculation, adjusters will say the opposite to you if you don't have a lawyer, by the way. The calculation's the full ticket price of that treatment. So past medical, that's the easy part. The harder part is current medical, things you're doing this week, next week, as you're trying to value your claim, and then any future medical. You're going to have adjusters tell you, oh, we're not going to pay you for something you haven't done. That's not the law. You have a right to future medical as long as it is probable that you're going to do it. So having a surgical estimate, you are a surgical candidate. You have a herniated disc, you need back surgery. You're delaying it right now. You're trying conservative care, but the doctor has already said that. You can value, you can calculate what is that surgery going to cost. Oftentimes you can go right to the doctor and say, doctor, can your office give me an estimate? Include that as part of your medical expenses, past, present, future. Total that all up. That's your medical expenses. That's what I call it blackboarding. If we're in front of a jury, first thing we're doing is we're putting up on our whiteboard, we call it blackboard, but we often use whiteboards. We're putting up on the whiteboard, ladies and gentlemen, here is Sally Smith's past medical expense costs. Here's her future medical expense costs. So her total is this. Pay her this for her medical expenses. So that's how we're doing it. That's how you need to do it with the adjuster. Second component, very similar, different topic, is lost wages. You may or may not have it. If you've got it, it's past, present, future. You may only have past. You may have past, present, and future. Same concept. Total those up. What's your salary? What's your hourly rate? How much time did you miss? How much time are you gonna miss? Are you currently missing time? You need to tell them that. Hey, I currently am out of work. I am scheduled to be out of work because of my injuries for at least the next week. Calculate that. That's present and future. Or, that surgery I'm telling you about that I'm going to need in the future. We know I'm going to be out for the surgery day, and the doctor's telling me at least 4 to 8 weeks. Calculate that loss. That is a future loss you're going to have. They owe it to you. Total that up. That's your lost wages. Those two together, medical, lost wages, combine them. That is what we call your special damages. Very important number. More so in the adjuster's room than in our room as plaintiffs. It is a big component. It is not the end-all be-all. Adjusters really want to know what that number is because remember, they're spitting it into a computer because they're trying to keep your offer low. But that number is important. It drives a lot of the value. It's 2/3 of the calculation. So know what that number is and don't miss any of those components, the future, the present, that sort of thing. Now, last component is the big one, pain and suffering. It's big both because as a personal injury trial lawyer, it's the most important component to my client. The past, present, and future pain, suffering, mental anguish, things couldn't do, things still can't do, limitations, past, present, and future. Going to have this injury for the rest of their lives, going to not be able to run anymore, not be able to walk, not be able to read, not be able to drive ever again, those sorts of things. And this is the hardest for that reason. It's the biggest, and it's the one that no one can give an empirical calculation in the sense of your medical bills, those sorts of things. There's nothing you can touch, see, feel that could tell a jury this is what it's worth. You can only give them suggestions. So that's the same system here. Adjuster doesn't know what your pain and suffering is worth. Your lawyer doesn't know. The only people that know are the future 12 jurors, if you're here in the state of Georgia, that are going to tell you what your pain and suffering is worth. Well, gosh, how do we calculate it then? Well, as lawyers who have experience trying cases, we use our past experience. What have jurors done in the past in this state with this type of case? But be careful because every case is not the same. Pain and suffering is not the same. How long you had pain and suffering, what kind of injuries you had aren't exactly the same oftentimes. So you want to use it as a guidepost, but it's not the end-all be-all because, again, none of this is empirical. But you have to come up with a valuation for your pain and suffering. Here's where, much like calculators, be careful with some of the stuff you're going to see out there that try to make this an easy calculation. Oh, it's 2 times your special damages. That's what the value of your case is. It's 3 times. It's 4 times. It's 5 times. No. There is no hard and fast. There's no way an adjuster, a lawyer, anyone else can say, oh, yours is 2 times your medical bills. You got $25,000 in medical costs, so your case is worth $50,000. Your case is worth 3 times, $75,000. No. 1, it's a range because we know it can always come out multiple different ways. But 2, don't fall for that trap. That's what the adjusters want you to do. They want you to try to make it empirical because it's going to actually have your value lower. You got to get into the nitty-gritty of your experience, what you went through. Yours is unique. It drives the value, the things you couldn't do, couldn't take care of my grandchildren, my children. I missed events because of my injuries. I'm going to miss things. I can't ever drive again. All of this kind of stuff brings a lot of value on the pain and suffering side. So this is where a lawyer obviously can really give you great advice on what they think it's worth because of past experience, recent past experience. That's another very important component. All right, let me give you now the tip I told you about, the biggest factor as a personal injury trial lawyer that goes into the value of your case. That is venue. Where would you be trying your case? Because remember, it's all about the jury. It's all about who are those 12 jurors going to be that are going to make this financial decision for you on what your case is worth. And people come with all kinds of baggage and past experience that they'll lean on in trying to come up with value, especially on the pain and suffering side. So, venue, very important. In the state of Georgia, we're a, on paper, typical plaintiff, not so friendly state, very conservative. Conservative jurisdictions, venue-wise, are not good for plaintiffs. They keep verdicts lower. They don't value pain and suffering as much for a number of different personal factors. So are you in a conservative venue or are you in a more liberal venue? Believe it or not, that's not political. Those have different viewpoints on value of pain and suffering. Are we in a more affluent area, or are we in a lower socioeconomic venue? That has some value component to it. So in Georgia, for instance, there is a handful of counties that everybody knows are really good plaintiffs' venues. If you're in one of those, it significantly drives up the value of your case, because everyone, plaintiff, defendant, lawyers, adjusters know jurors give more money for pain and suffering in this venue than in the venue next door. That's how crazy it can get. You can literally have two counties right next to each other. One's going to give you 2, 3, 4 times more money than the one right next to it. And so it's kind of a little bit of a crapshoot lottery. Did you get into a good venue or not? A lawyer can tell you that if they're trying cases. So that is a huge component. You would need to know that because it drives value. You would want to be bringing that up to the adjuster. Hey, we're in a great county to try a personal injury case, as you know. That brings more value. All right, let me give you a couple of the one-offs, because if you have them, it's going to help you. Tractor-trailer cases, just inherently more valuable. Why? You got a big, huge 25,000, 50,000 pound vehicle hitting you. No way someone's going to say you couldn't be injured in a wreck like that. All of that drives value. Number two, that's where what defense calls nuclear verdicts come in. These big, massive verdicts are coming in all over the place in Georgia on tractor-trailer cases for that reason. Part of it's because there's a company that's involved versus an individual defendant. Those sorts of things. Tractor-trailer cases, automatically you've got more value than you would for the next personal injury person who's in it's two vehicles, passenger vehicles, you're suing Sally Smith. Not going to be as valuable as that same kind of wreck, but it's a tractor-trailer. So that's number one. Number two, you may or may not have this. I hate it, either one of these cases, a child versus an adult case. So if it is a child that's injured, that alone brings more value. Why? Because jurors are going to be more sympathetic, empathetic to this poor 8-year-old was injured and has lifelong injuries versus a 50-year-old. So just inherently, child plaintiff injury cases, it brings more value than if it's an adult. So that's a component. And the last one is it a wrongful death case or is it an injury case? So wrongful death cases obviously have more value. Someone died. It's what's the value of that person's life? They lost their life. That's going to be typically a much bigger value driving case than I have a herniated disc, I'm doing okay, I had a surgery, and I'm moving forward. So death versus it being an injury case. Now, of course, everything comes with caveats. Nothing, again, is massively empirical. One place where a death case versus an injury case, it's actually the injury case, is what if the injury case is I'm a quadriplegic now? Those have massive value. I have a brain injury. I now went from, I was a professor doing all of this, very intelligent, to now I can't work because of my brain injury. I can barely function because of it. Those are going to have higher value than in even a wrongful death case. So it comes with a few caveats, and you need to know these things. If you have any of these, it raises the value of your claim automatically. Well, listen, I hope this video helps you determine how personal injury lawyers calculate settlement value of a personal injury claim. Thanks for watching the video.